Hi guys, it's Nick and welcome to Tacky Notes! Today on Tacky Notes we're going to be reviewing my favorite book, The Catcher in the Rye, and I hope you enjoy. The Catcher in the Rye is about a 16-year-old dude named Holden Caulfield who's in a sanatorium, a kind of mental institute in California. There he tells us about his experience being kicked out of Pensy and basically what happened to him in Pensy. And he also tells us what happened to him when he was in New York City wandering around. He struggles a lot with the phoniness of society, the adult world, and his childhood memories all throughout the book. And that's what he tells us. He tells us about his story. The main character in the book, his name is Holden Caulfield, and he refuses to grow up, which is very relatable to people in high school nowadays. And the main thing with him is he wants to protect children from growing up and becoming sexually active or involved in romance. Another thing about Holden is he's very judgmental and hypocritical about others, but he does not like it when people are judgmental and hypocritical to him, and he calls those people phony. But in reality, he's also being phony. And another thing about Holden, he is constantly lonely, and he alienates those who he meets in New York to not be lonely, and it basically just messes with him all throughout the book. And Holden, he basically represents how kids don't want to enter the adult world, but they have to, it's necessary. And Holden he absolutely does not want to lose his innocence, and by doing that, he's just ignoring reality. Another major character in The Catcher in the Rye would be Phoebe, Holden's little sister. Phoebe is Holden's closest member to the family, and she tries to understand him about how he does harm to himself by basically just ignoring the adult world, but she doesn't really understand because she's still little. But she does understand that Holden is self-destructive to himself, and she constantly questions him about why he fails school. Phoebe's childhood innocence is one of Holden's only sources of happiness, because he just loves it when he sees little kids that are in their purest form as a child. That's evident when he deeply enjoys hearing the little boy singing the song about being the catcher in the rye. Another thing about Phoebe is that she is crucial in helping Holden realize that taking chances are necessary, although they might fail. This happens when Phoebe is on the little carousel thing and she's reaching for the golden ring. The first quote is, "Allie, don't let me disappear. Allie, don't let me disappear. Allie, don't let me disappear. Please, Allie." This quote is by Holden, and it basically ties into the theme of death all throughout the book. And it shows that when Holden feared his existence or dying, he relied on basically talking to his deceased brother, Allie. The next quote is, "The things with kids is, if they want to grab the golden ring, you have to let them do it. If they fall off, they fall off." This shows that Holden has accepted the dangers of the adult world and being mature. And he basically knows that it's going to lead to risk. And he also acknowledges that you cannot protect yourself from growing up and reaching maturity. Holden becomes lonely after he alienates his friends Sally and Carl in New York City. Loneliness is the consequence for being so harsh and judgmental towards them and just being very intrusive towards their lives. And Holden embraces loneliness because it provides a self-protection for him, so he won't be exposed to the adult. Motive is sexuality, intimacy, and relationships. Holden fears all three of these things because they lead to change, unpredictability, and complexity. And Holden, he just does not like relationships because he wants to live in a world where things are frozen and do not change. And Holden has multiple opportunities for intimacy, but he ignores them because he doesn't want to become an adult, and this leads him to be bitter. A major theme would be death, and it is heavily applied by Holden's dead brother, Allie. Holden speaks to Allie when he fears his existence and disappearing from the earth, or basically just dying. And Holden also fears the thought of his brother, Allie, surrounded by gravestones, alluding to the theme of death within the book. The last major theme would be innocence. Holden fears losing his innocence because he'll become an adult. And he fears his innocence mainly when he's about to have sex with Sunny. And he thinks of people, his childhood friends, still as little kids, such as Jane. He thinks of Jane as the girl he plays checkers with when he's ignoring that she's grown up and has lost her childhood innocence, basically, because she's moved on. And innocence is the dominating theme in the book, especially innocence for children, and it's what Holden sees as his primary virtue.